a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Southwest.
This season, A.J. Griffin has been the man counted on to stop Ranger losing streaks. Following his latest win in San Diego, however, he said it's time to be a streak starter. Evidently, his teammates were listening, as A.J. and the Rangers have run off 5 straight victories. Today, Griffin takes the hill, looking to take on a new role, win streak extender. It's the finale versus the A's, with series sweep implications. Welcome to Texas Rangers baseball, presented by AT and it is another beautiful Sunday afternoon here at the ballpark. But more than just that, it's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there this afternoon. The Rangers and the A's one final time, and an opportunity for a sweep this afternoon for the Rangers in this 3-game series. Welcome in, everybody. Great to be with you this afternoon. I'm Dave Raymond with CJ Nitkowski. Happy Mother's Day indeed. Rangers have run off 5 straight wins. They've done it in sometimes improbable ways, and I think, CJ, it's worth kind of reviewing how it's happened.
Without a doubt, it's been a lot of fun to watch what the Rangers have done, and we're going to give the offense a little bit of love in what they have done during this 5-game winning streak, going back to San Diego, that 5-run first inning, and Ryan Rua with the big bomb at Petco Park. That got this streak started. We got back to Arlington after that. It was Shin-Chu Chu's big night, 3 hits for him in that one, as the Rangers went on to win their 2nd of the streak. And then the 3rd one, Elvis Andrus leading it off before the Mike Napoli big bomb. We remember, of course, the walk-off from him. And then in the 4th one, it was Jonathan Lucroy now beating the man who led off that 9th inning and getting things started before Joey Gallo had maybe the biggest moment of his brief career, a 3-run walk-off home run. And then last night, Elvis Andrus again leading things off, getting things going, in that inning, before it was Nomar Mazara with the big double to left field over the head of Chris Davis. And so the offense has gotten it done a lot of different ways. We've seen some power. We've seen some guys driving the ball the other way as well. They have been fantastic during this 5-game streak. And
a lot of exciting late inning comebacks in this run for the Rangers, all of which seems to have been predicted by A.J. Griffin, who after his last start said, well, let's start a win streak. They've done that, and now it's up to A.J. to continue it.
Yeah, he's in a little bit of a different spot now all of a sudden, as he wants to get this thing going, keep it going now for the 6th win, if they can do it in a row. A.J. has been very good, and take a look what he's done over his last 4, going back to April 12th against the Angels, and you see the numbers there. And what has been so impressive when you watch A.J. Griffin pitch, he doesn't blow you away with his stuff. He doesn't light up the radar gun, but he's pretty much a 2-pitch pitcher in the sense that his fastball and that really slow curveball that you see right there. But what has stuck out to me is his ability to throw inside, especially to right-handed hitters with his fastball. You see him elevating against Will Myers. That was last Tuesday, that complete game shutout that he threw. But he is not afraid to throw inside, and that has been a good thing to see. His opponent today, Kendall Graveman, great start to the season for him. You see it there, his first 3 starts. His last 3, however, have not been nearly as good. And in those first 3, if you remember, he was very strong against the Texas Rangers. 7 innings, just 2 hits, and 1 run allowed. Payback today, I think, here on Mother's Day for the Rangers against Kendall Graveman.
All right, well, to your point, it is Mother's Day, a special day here at the ballpark. It's also a day that has had some success significance for the Rangers. They've had a lot of success on this day, and that number will be in our spotlight when we come back. brought to you by AT&T Internet. Visit AT&T.com/keepcalm to learn more. By Budweiser, not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. And by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. Well, a beautiful Sunday afternoon. We're just about ready to get going today. Mentioned that the Rangers have had all kinds of success on Mother's Day. It is time now for our Shiner Light Blonde Spotlight.
I think it matters, right? Moms certainly care about how their sons are doing on Mother's Day, so what better gift to pay it off, maybe with a win, and we see the Rangers have done that. 26-20 is their record all-time on Mother's Day. That is the 6th best in baseball. I like seeing all these sixes, right? They won 6 of their last 8 because we would like to see another win today, which would be, of course, their 6th in a row.
A lot of moms here today with the kids. Of course, you really want to give mom a break. Maybe get a babysitter for the kids and bring mom out to the ballpark, but that's okay. Nothing better than the old ball yard on a Sunday afternoon. That guy, Imai, sent mom somewhere else.
That's a pretty good gift as well. Yeah, take the kids to the game, or you fake it, right? Now, yeah, I'll just hang at home with the kids. Well, you go do your thing and then shoot to the ballpark with the kids, and everybody wins.
Well, a bunch of beautiful kids out here at the park today. Final game in this 3-game series. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for the A's. Rajai Davis leading it off. Matt Joyce, and then Jed Lowry's had a real nice series. The switch hitter batting third and playing second base. Alonso, a guy to keep your eye on batting cleanup. Healy, Plouffe, Vogt. Mark Hanna getting the start in left field, and then Adam Rosales at shortstop batting ninth. A.J. Griffin, 4-0 on the year and a 245 earned run average, his 6th start this year. And he's ready to go. He's always ready to go, and he gets a first pitch pop-up on the left side of the infield. Hello, wandering around for it. Comes down to it.
Let's take a look at the pitch arsenal here for A.J. Griffin. And I mentioned that it's predominantly a 2-pitch pitcher. Of course, he also will throw that changeup at 15% of the time. Will mix in the slider, but the deadly combination for him has been that fastball curveball, and he is just so fun to watch. Again, not lighting up the radar gun. He knows that he's talked about it, but man, he has pitched so well in such big spots, but he knows how to use that stuff. The fastball and the curveball, really nice combination. And most of what you will see today, you see it there, 75% of the time, you'll see one of those 2 pitches from A.J.
So he waits for Matt Joyce to step in. Joyce, a left-handed hitter, brings a 190 average into the game. And Griffin comes right after him. Well, Joyce was interesting, really taking his time getting into the box there, and then really got right up on top of it. But A.J. unflappable. Says, all right, put it right on your kneecaps.
Well,
have the count 0-2.
It's a smart approach from Matt Joyce. When you think about A.J. Griffin, not afraid to throw inside. It's going to be mostly 4-seamers that will be coming in to Matt Joyce, and so he'll challenge A.J. Griffin a little bit and try to open up that outside part of the plate.
Breaking ball rolled slowly up the middle. Gallo can't quite get to it. How about that? That thing took forever to get through the middle of the diamond, but it's a hit for Joyce.
Yeah, well placed ground ball. Let's take a look at the Rangers defense, which is delivered to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance. And here's the defense today. Delano DeShields, Carlos Gomez, Nomar Mazara in the outfield. You saw Joey Gallo taking a shot at the ball, essentially playing shortstop at that point, but he is your third baseman today. Ryan Rua is getting a start at first base today, maybe trying to capture some of that magic from when the streak first started and that big home run that he hit at Petco.
Well, a man on, 1 out, and here's Jed Lowry, and he's swinging at the first pitch. A lazy fly ball out to short left, but it's Gomez ranging over from center to make the play. 2 away, and here comes Yonder Alonso. Alonso yesterday had the home run. In fact, he drove in 2 runs yesterday. Had an RBI single early in the game, the home run late in the game. And continues what has been an unbelievable start for the A's first baseman. Our TXU Energy power player to watch. Not a big surprise there. Last 11 games, 8 home runs, and OPS of over 1,400.
Yonder Alonso is really having a huge season. And it all went back to a conversation and multiple conversations that he has had with Carlos Beltran about getting the baseball in the air a little more. It has paid huge dividends for him. As you mentioned, the home runs for him now a career high, and here we are only, what is today, May 15th?
14th, yeah.
14th.
Well, that breaking ball just missed. And it makes it a 3-0 count on Alonso. Let's see if he's swinging 3-0. He is at the green light. We have a base runner, Matt Joyce. Yesterday, the A's scored 5 runs on 11 hits. In the opener on Friday, 2 runs on 7 hits. So they've got Alonso up there, and especially with a man on, they want him swinging. And he does swing. And he pops it up. Hanging up there a long time into short left. The Shields plenty of time to get to it, and the inning is over. So a short top of the first for A.J. Griffin, and here come the Rangers. First for the A's, and now, as we say, here come the Rangers. Take a look at our Southwest starting lineup. Delano to Shields in that top spot again today, leading off in left field. Elvis Andrus at short, Mazzara in right field. You work your way down the order. Joey Gallo. How about his numbers against the A's? 3 home runs, 9 RBIs in 8 games, and then Ryan Rua with a start at first base today, batting 9th. Kendall Graveman, 2 wins, 2 losses. And he starts us off with ball 1. Graveman, a .367 earned run average, making his 7th start.
And you take a look here at the pitch arsenal and what the Rangers will be seeing today from Kendall Graveman. It's a lot of fastballs, 84%, and that's what he throws. And most of those are 2-seam fastballs. A lot of singers, a lot of ground balls. That is his game. That's what we saw, of course, last time when he pitched against the Texas Rangers. He's taking it kind of to a whole new level for him. I mean, he's always been a guy that predominantly threw 2-seam fastballs, but he's thrown even more of those this season.
2-1 pitch, and that one bounced through the right side, a base hit for the Shields. Yesterday, Delano had 3 hits in the Rangers' 1-1 victory, and he starts them off with a single this afternoon.
You love seeing this from your leadoff hitter. Look at that perfect shot of that 2-seam fastball, and not a bad one. Went a little bit more horizontal than down, and that's when single ball pitchers will get themselves in trouble. All it takes is getting around that ball just a little bit, and it doesn't sink, and it's still a little bit more flat. And a nice job by Delano just to hit that ball the other way, just out of the reach of Jed Lowry.
So now some great speed out there at first base. And Elvis Andrus at the right side. He takes strike one.
I mentioned the difference in the change as far as what Kendall Graveman has done with his fastball. 62% of the time is what he threw that pitch a year ago, and now he is up over 80%. That is a big change in pitch usage.
Delano running. The pitch is outside, gets away from Vogt. DeShields around second, and he's going to head for third. Vogt was a little lackadaisical getting to the ball, and Delano steals two.
What a heads-up play by Delano DeShields, and you think about what a difference this kind of speed can make on a baseball field, and he does a nice job of getting a great jump here off of Kendall Graveman. Let's take a look. You see him leaning. That's a pretty good jump from Delano, looking in most of the way. This looked like it might have been a slider or a cutter that got away from Stephen Vogt, but you make a great point. He kind of went after it. Oh, it's, a little bit was kind of making the assumption that Delano DeShields was not going to go to third. That certainly wasn't a full sprint after that baseball, and Delano picked up on that right away and cruises into third base.
Credit for the stolen base. Gets third on the wild pitch, and he's 90 feet away with a count of ball and 2 strikes on Andrus. Now Elvis has been really good in these spots. Look at the last 2 years for Andrus with runners in scoring position. He's third in Major League Baseball, second in the American League behind only Mookie Betts. And there's his target right now. He wants to get DeShields home from third. Alonso in tight at first base, and a little tapper foul. Stays 2-2.
Well, even if he doesn't get a base hit right here, there's certainly an opportunity for a productive at bat for Elvis Andrus with the middle infielders you see there, short and second, that are back. The ground ball will easily score Delano DeShields.
Graveman's 2-2 pitch, and another foul. You mentioned it earlier about Graveman's previous start against the Rangers, and that was a Saturday night here at Globe Life Park. Ball game, the Oakland A's went on to win 6-1. He did not allow a Rangers hit in that one until the 7th inning. Mike Napoli hit a home run off him. Odor would later get a single in that inning. That was it. And another foul ball keeps it 2-2.
He was dominant in that game, and the usage of the two-seam fastball and the location of that pitch was on. And of course, the Rangers, they pay attention to that. They go back and watch that in preparation for this game. Obviously, seeing it firsthand, getting in the box is the biggest part of that. But you just kind of keep an eye on the tendencies and where he likes to throw that pitch, what side of the plate. In certain situations, the Rangers will try to use that information to their advantage today to get back at Kendall Graveman.
Tapper back over the mound, hit slowly, and bobbled out there by Rosales. Everybody's safe. DeShields scores, and it's 1-0 Rangers.
And I am sure that'll go down as a base hit for Elvis Andrus, and continues to add to the runners in scoring position batting average. This is what you get. Contact from sinker balls, and sometimes you're going to get these kind of ground balls not hit very hard. Adam Rosales knew that he had to hurry. He could not take his time with Elvis running on this ball, and tried to make the quick scoop. Did not get to it cleanly. Turns into a base hit for Elvis and a run for the Rangers.
Now, what a start this afternoon. 1-0 the score, nobody out, and here's Nomar Mazara. Interesting now watching Andrus over there at first base during this at bat too. We saw DeShields take off on Graveman, got the stolen base, put the pressure on Vogt, took an extra. Andrus has run the bases really well in addition. Graveman takes note. And that has been a problem for Oakland, containing the opposition's running game, whether it's the pitchers not holding runners well or the catchers not throwing well. Doesn't really matter. because the end result thus far this year has been teams running like crazy on the A's.
Yeah, teams have picked up on that pretty quickly, and they put a lot of pressure on these pitchers, on this Oakland A's staff, to try to be a little bit quicker. And in the process, of course, you're also going to cause some pitchers to make some mistakes as they try to deliver the ball quicker to home plate.
This one outside, and it's 3-0 on Mazzara. Well, the first two have reached. Jonathan Lucroy waiting for his turn. Mazzara delivered the big hit last night. It was the 2-run double in the 7th. Gave the Rangers their 5th and 6th runs. It would eventually be the difference. It wasn't his only hit in the game. Had a couple of doubles. You can see he's been swinging it a little bit better lately. He's taken 3-0 and gets a strike.
Interesting that Graveman would have thrown over there on that 3-0 pitch. I don't think Elvis Andrus was going anywhere on a 3-0 count. That is not a count that you're going to try to steal on. You're certainly not going to hit and run in that count either.
3-1, and it's a full count. Now Mazzara batting third this afternoon. And that's where he has spent the better part of this season. There have been occasions where Jeff Bannister has dropped him a little bit in the order. Gave him a couple of days off recently. Trying to give him a chance to sort of reset, and it seems to be working. Runner going, and a bouncer. That one through the right side, base hit. Andrews with good speed will head to third. 3 straight singles to start the first inning.
And 3 straight ground ball singles as well. And this is what happens when you deal with a sinker ball pitcher, is that you're going to get a lot of contact. You're going to get a lot of ground balls. And so far, the Rangers have done a really nice job of putting those balls in play where places where the Oakland Athletics cannot get to. And a smart move to put Elvis in motion there, because you feel confident that Nomar is going to give you contact, and most likely it is going to be on the ground. And it really is amazing to see the run support. I know it's only 1 run so far this inning, but AJ Griffin is a machine. His run support average this year is up over 11. That's an absurd number. And I know we got 11 runs in his last start. A lot of times it goes by the average per inning while you're actually in the game. He is second in Major League Baseball right now, and he's been 1 or 2 since he has been in the big leagues, going back to 2012. But it's fascinating. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason. We've talked about it a bunch, but here the Rangers are again scoring runs.
Little bouncer up the middle. Could be 2. Rosales touches the bag, throws to first, and gets Lucroy, but another run scores, and it's 2-0 Rangers.
We haven't had a chance yet to take a look at the busy defense of the Oakland Athletics, and here they are. Connor Davis, Joyce in the outfield. You just saw Adam Rosales already involved in a couple of plays. That double play right there off the bat of Jonathan Lucroy. Jed Lowry will be at second, and Yonder Alonso, a very good, one of the better defensive first baseman in baseball, manning that position today for the A's.
No RBI for Lucroy on the double play grounder. And the 20th pitch of the inning is fouled away by Rougned Odor. Odor batting 5th today. Average up above the Mendoza line. 6 home runs for Rugi. Yesterday, Odor was hitless in 4 tries. Got a base hit on Friday along with a couple of walks. So lately he has found ways to get on base and contribute offensively. Takes a strike, and it's 1-2. So 2 quick runs out of the gate this afternoon for AJ Griffin. And a strikeout of Odor ends the bottom of the first. But the Rangers get it started offensively, giving some support to their right-hander. Mother's Day Sunday out here at the ballpark. Great to have you along with us this afternoon. Rangers with a 2-0 lead as AJ Griffin gets back to work in this second inning. Ryan Healy leading things off here, batting 5th for the A's, and he fouls it off, the count 0-2.
AJ Griffin certainly has to be happy with the 2 runs that he saw in the first inning from his offense, but he's also probably used to it. Take a look at this and what AJ has received as support in the first inning against any club that he has faced, but he has been so strong, so solid.
And he gets a strikeout swinging of Ryan Healy. Yeah, our Kubota power stats. Ryan Griffin, or AJ Griffin rather, takes care of Ryan Healy. Our Kubota power stats today. He's trying to become the 5th pitcher in Rangers history to go 5-0 in his first 6 starts of the season. The fact that he's 4-0 at this point means that he's well along that path. This one hit well out toward left field, and it is gone. Plouffe turns on one and puts it in the seats. And so Oakland is on the board. 6th home run of the year for Plouffe. And it's a 2-1 game.
Trevor Plouffe decided not to wait around at all, especially after seeing the strikeout of Ryan Healy and not wanting any part of that curveball. So he catches a fastball early in the count and one that was up. And you can see Jonathan Lucroy's glove. He wanted it in. It came back over the plate just a little bit. And Plouffe squares it up and drills it out to left field.
And now Stephen Vogt, and a big curve right in there. Or strike one. Vogt 198 average. And you see not a whole lot of run production for him either. He was the final out of the game last night. And he hit a ball hard. I mean, he smoked it, but a line out to Napoli down at first, and that was how the game ended. It was in a pinch hit appearance for Vogt. And he hits this ball hard down the right field line, but heading foul.
Let's get back to the first inning and what I talked about here with AJ Griffin and the consistent run support that he has gotten from this club. Overall, it has been fantastic, but it has been really good in the first inning. Just one of his starts so far, and that was the one against the Los Angeles Angels back on April 12th that he did not get a run.
in the first inning, but every other time. And there's some big numbers in there as well. And AJ will tell you he loves pitching with a lead. There's not a pitcher in baseball, I think, that would tell you otherwise, but it's nice to get that early lead as well. Doesn't mean you back off, doesn't mean you take it easy, but it is always nice to get those runs early, and the Rangers have done a fantastic job of supporting AJ Griffin this season. And Andrew Cashner saying, hey,
save a few.
Don't forget about me, because he's got about, I think it's a 165 was his run support average last time I looked for Andrew Cashner. It's been quite opposite. AJ's been one of the best. And I say the best, it's not a skill set necessarily, but he's been one of the luckiest, I guess probably is the better way to describe that. And on the other side, unfortunately for Andrew Cashner, he's been one of the unluckiest. AJ getting almost 10 more runs per start on average than Andrew Cashner.
Type of thing you figure, you know, might happen every now and then. A guy's going to have a good day, a guy's not going to have a good day, but that it happens as consistently as it does for both guys is definitely bizarre. Little bloop out toward short left, and going out to make the play, Joey Gallo, 2 away.
And Angel fielder, number 20, Mark Hanna.
Now, not a huge surprise to see an out in the air right there. That is AJ's game. You know, we always talk about ground ball pitchers. Griffin, not a ground ball pitcher. He'll get some strikeouts, but he just tries to keep it in the yard. This ball in the air, out to center field. Gomez back a few steps, hauls it in, and so the inning is over. Trevor Plouffe, though, with a home run. We played 1.5. Rangers lead by 1. By a run as we go to the bottom of the second. And a little reminder, a Coca-Cola family pack offers savings of over 30% on tickets, food, kids zone access, souvenir programs, and importantly, Coke soft drinks. Family pack is an ideal way to catch the Rangers when they play the Phillies later this week, Tuesday through Thursday. So come on out. Go to TexasRangers.com/specials to get your Coca-Cola family pack today. Napoli, Carlos Gomez, and Joey Gallo in the second inning. And Graveman falls behind here, as he has fairly regularly in the early portion of this ballgame. 2-0 to Napoli.
It's interesting watching Mike Napoli a little bit closer now and doing these games steadily and seeing his patience. Right? We know that he has always been one of the best in the game as far as his pitches per plate appearance. But on the flip side of that, you go back to the start of last year, he's got one of the best slugging percentages on the first pitch of an at-bat. He doesn't hack at it very often, but when he does a lot of damage. And you start to wonder, well, okay, pitchers will pick up on that. They know that Mike is pretty patient, and so they feel like sometimes they can get away with the first pitch fastball, maybe over the heart of the plate. They don't have to shoot corners. I always just wondered a little bit if he'd ever start to flip the script and get a little bit more aggressive early, because when he does, he has been very, very successful. Over a 1,000 slugging percentage, which is the third in Major League Baseball since the start of last year.
Lost his bat there. Looked like it. A couple of small breaks right just above the handle, so has to get a new one.
Kendall Graveman is used to doing that. You have the heavy sinker and you're not afraid to throw it inside to righties, and you can do it with consistency. You will break a lot of bats. You'll see a lot of foul balls off of right-handers' front foot or shin. He's going good. It's a lot of that for opposing hitters.
Finds a strike zone there and punches out Napoli to start the second inning. So back-to-back strikeouts for Graveman.
This is a well-located fastball against Mike Napoli from Kendall Graveman, and you see the target there from Stephen Vogt. And for Mike, it's a two-seamer. Ball starts off the plate most of the way, comes back and catches the corner, but also catches it at the knees. Tough pitch.
Well, Graveman gave up a couple of runs in the first inning on 3 singles. But a double play grounder, a strikeout, and now a strikeout to start the second. Jumps ahead of Carlos Gomez, 0-1. On base average nearing 320 now for Gomez. And he hits this ball sharply up the middle. That one is through, base hit. So another base runner, the 4th hit already this afternoon for the Rangers.
The Rangers really have done a very nice job of approaching the sinker from Kendall Graveman. Listen, you know you're going to most likely hit the ball on the ground if he's hitting his spots, and he kind of did right here. Pretty good pitch. But as long as you're not trying to either lift that ball or you're not trying to pull it too much, you got a chance of driving that thing through the middle of the field. And so the Rangers so far have done a nice job. And a couple of base hits that we have seen on ground balls where they're either going the other way that we saw Delano DeShields do, or up the middle in the way that we saw Carlos Gomez do right there.
Now Joey Gallo turns away from a ball. Gallo with the 12 home runs. That's second in the American League. His 27 RBIs, 6th most in the American League. So it has been a great start for Gallo. A quick toss. Gomez just back in there. So here's some American League ranks for Gallo. Scoring a lot of runs and a very impressive slugging percentage mixed in there as well. Now with Gallo, because the strikeouts are such a big part of the game, and he does lead the American League with 56 strikeouts, and he's not going to be a high average guy, really probably never projects to be a high average guy. You look at the on base percentage almost exclusively as he pops this one up into short left field. Canna drifting toward the line and makes the catch. Gallo, though, he's right around 315 on base percentage, so that's not bad, all things considered. But he's retired. He'll bring up Ryan Rua.
The one conversation we're not having about Joey Gallo, because he unfortunately just went over the limit, was the idea of where he would actually match up against other rookies too, right? He's having that great year, and we show the ranks and where he is. Well, last year he surpassed the rookie qualifications and kind of the limits, and the way that works is for hitters it goes by your at bats, and once you pass 130 at bats you are no longer a rookie. Well, Joey Gallo had 108 at bats in 2015, so he was still a rookie. In 2016 he had 25 at bats, so he just went over the limit. What's that, 133? So by 3 at bats he was over that limit. Otherwise the conversation right now about Joey Gallo would be quite possibly a favorite to be rookie of the year this year.
Right,
by 3 at bats.
Could be a cruel game. It's no doubt. There'll be a lot of Gallo versus Aaron Judge conversation right now. Rua at the right side of the plate, and he swings through a fastball. It's 1-1.
See the socks there that Rua is wearing. We saw We saw Odor wearing those yesterday as well, right? I talked to Anthony Iapoce today, the hitting coach here with the Texas Rangers. He's like, Ceach, got to get you some of those. He's like, these things are like wearing slippers. He said they are so unbelievably comfortable. And there's a good chance I'm going to bite on that sales pitch.
Runner going, pitch down in the dirt. The throw to second is high. Gomez, can he hold the bag? He does. Just keeps a toe on there. And for Gomez, his 5th stolen base.
And it keeps happening here for the Oakland A's, and they just cannot keep runners. And a decent enough jump here from Carlos Gomez. We knew this was going to be close, and look at that. That is amazing. Look at that left foot. I mean, you're talking big toe is about the only thing left on the bag, and it always just amazes me, and it never even bounced up for a second, right? You see what infielders have done such a great job of now is keeping that glove on because of instant replay.
And now this one shot out to right, but Joyce is there. So the inning is over. Gomez left at second base. We've played 2. Rangers lead by 1.
And it is my pleasure to welcome in the honorary Batgirl for today's game, Kimberly Locke of Aledo. Kimberly, you were selected among many, many entrants. Your husband wrote an essay about your commitment to the Rangers. You've been diagnosed with breast cancer, how you've battled that, and what kind of honor has it been for you to be here today?
Wow, honor is definitely the word. It's hard to put into words, but it's amazing that what the Rangers have done, MLB, in bringing awareness to breast cancer on this day, and it's meant so much to me just to be able to maybe help inspire someone or help motivate someone and bring that positive, never ever quit. That's exactly what I said from day one. I started telling everyone. I stole that from Banny, and yes, I know that, but hey. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think he would mind lending it to you.
He doesn't, because I talked to him about that at spring training, and he didn't mind at all. He was very gracious.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the first pitch. You made it out there, and I know you had some pointers from Matt Bush.
That is correct. That is correct. I talked with Matt Bush beforehand, and he gave me some pointers, and he said, if anything goes wrong, you can blame me. But I think it went pretty well. I practiced a lot, but forgot everything once I got out there. But it went pretty well. I made it to Chirinos. That was the most important.
You made it. You didn't bounce it. And then just finally, one more thing. You're such a huge Ranger fan, and it's so evident in the joy that you're expressing.
Yes.
Did you ever imagine that you would, I guess, get this opportunity, and what do you feel like it's done for you and others?
I didn't. Of course, I am a huge Ranger fan. I never dreamed of this day that I've had and everything that the Rangers, the players, the staff have done for me today. And again, it's not about me, though, in all actuality. It's about everyone else before me. that has been affected by breast cancer, either themselves or a family member. And you know, it's all about going to bat against breast cancer. That's all I can say. And I'm just truly honored to be part of the Rangers today. And I can't even put it into words. I'm sorry.
Well, you've done a beautiful job, and we are honored to have you here today. Keep fighting, girl. We're all behind you.
I will. Thank you.
Guys, we'll send it back to you.
Well, that was awesome, Emily. Thank you. Oh, really well said. Lead man on here, Adam Rosales in the 3rd inning for the Oakland A's, and Rajai Davis takes the ball. It's 2-2. A special day, Mother's Day. It's special all around baseball. It's special all around the world. But Major League Baseball, they've done a great job embracing this holiday and really being able to leverage it for a lot of good in recent years. High fly ball out there to shallow left, and Shields calls it in, 1 away. Of course, become a big tradition. And then this year, this is the first year where players were allowed to bring the pink apparatus out on Saturday as well as Sunday, whether it be the socks, the shoes, the uniforms, the belts we saw yesterday.
They're those super comfortable socks that Posey had talked about. But it is great. I mean, the fact that you make a whole weekend of this event, and yes, for the players, they love the idea of, you know, being able to take some time and honor their mothers. But there's a bigger picture here for Major League Baseball and the reasons behind this, and making sure that we're not forgetting and paying attention to breast cancer, and for those that have been affected by it, awareness, research, opportunities to donate, all things that will go on with the great equipment and everything that guys are wearing, including umpires. You saw that great mask being worn by Jim Reynolds today behind home plate. Everybody
awesome.
Getting in on the act. He went a little more hot pink, I noticed, compared to Jonathan Lucroy's, a little bit more of the muted, softer pink. I don't know what that says about Jim compared to Jonathan, but I did notice.
3 balls, no strikes to Joyce. Well, all this, you know, all the things you're seeing in the game, whether it be the shin guards, the face masks, the bats, all the game used equipment is then donated and auctioned off later on, which is so cool. And then the royalties and the sales go to support the Susan G. Komen and Stand Up to Cancer foundations, and they have done such a great job. Raised over $920 million for research, and provide more than $2 billion to fund screening, education, treatment, and support programs across the country, and for that matter worldwide. So it is a great privilege to be a part of it every year, and the guys love it. The runner goes, and this one hit sharply to second base, snagged cleanly by Odor, and he'll throw out Joyce. 2 away in the inning. Rosales, though, out there to second base.
Great play here by Rougned Odor as he ranges to his left. This ball was hit pretty hard. It was a curveball. Matt Joyce got a pretty good piece of it, and Rougie was already shaded a little bit to right, but does a really nice job of getting to that ball. And I think the difference of that getting through and being a 1st and 3rd situation with 1 out, but instead, a nice play leads to the 2nd out of the inning.
So Rosales will take his walking lead and brings up Jed Lowry. Big curveball dropped out of the sky, but just a little bit too high.
67 miles an hour on that curveball. This thing almost has a parachute on the back end of it, and that's what AJ does so well. That big, slow curveball, he doesn't give it away. It's not an easy thing to do, to throw that pitch at that slow of a velocity without slowing your arm down. You left that one hanging up there a little bit, but it is incredible to watch that pitch. It is not an easy thing to do. Like, you slow your arm down and throw a pitch like that, big leaguers are going to crush it. They're going to pick up on it. They're going to see you slow down, and they're going to kill it. But AJ does not give it away at all.
1-1. It seems so cliche to say, too, that it makes that fastball look so much faster. Man, when he follows with that fastball, it looks like he's throwing 98.
More often than not, a cliche in baseball exists because there's truth behind it, and it absolutely is the case. And you see a 67-mile-an-hour curveball, especially up in the zone, and then AJ comes back 88, 89, 90 up and in to a left-handed hitter. Ball's just going to get on him a lot quicker. Just going to look quicker. Listen, it's nice to be able to light up the radar gun, but what matters is what do you make it look like to hitters? That's what this game is all about from the pitching side. Mixing and matching, keeping the baseball off the barrel of the bat, and you do that by disguising your pitches in different ways.
20th pitch of the inning, and this one popped foul up into the stands.
We like to show this one a lot with all the pitchers because it's so interesting, especially on this staff. You see the high fastball so far has been at 90 miles an hour. The slowest curveball has been at 66. It's always interesting when we do this with you, Darvish, because it's usually 72 to 97, which is pretty incredible. But it's a really nice job by a lot of these guys throttling hitters.
Now he gets him with a slow curveball. His second strikeout of the afternoon. Strands in Oakland Day in scoring position. We played 2.5. Bryce Harper celebrated his contract extension last night with a walk-off home run and then picked up right where he left off today with a solo home run in the first inning. Then in the fifth, Trey Turner with a 2-run home run made it 3-0 Nationals. They have since given up a run. Now in the 8th inning, it's a 3-1 ball game. Boy, but the Nats and Bryce Harper doing some things this week, and big news for Harper. To get that contract extension yesterday, and now DeShields with a bouncer to third base, and he is erased for the first time in the inning. I paused there because a little bobble at first. Alonso, it was deemed lost it when he was taking it out of his glove. So it is an out. 5-3, 1 away.
And we'll just double check on that. Jeff Bannister didn't seem too concerned, but yes, that is a clean catch. Now remember when they had that rule in baseball for, I don't know, how'd they keep that one around for about a month? Remember they changed it at the beginning of the season? It was so ridiculous on the exchanges. Guy would catch a ball, walk 5 steps, and then if he bobbled the ball and the exchanger dropped it, they would say no catch. And that was an example of a little bit of an overreach, I think, by the rules committee. And a couple of years ago, was that 2013, I believe, or 14, whatever it was. But that actually would have come into play on that one right there, which, of course, is silly.
1 out now for Elvis Andrus. You're talking about overreach. You see Joe Madden, manager of the Cubs, yesterday, a little frustrated over the slide rule. As Andrus squares.
I did not see that.
He sounded off on both the slide rule at second base, which has come into play so many times on potential double plays, and then went ahead and just folded in the stuff at home plate with the catcher collisions. And his point was very simply, he's counting out 2-1 to Andrus, that the rules are annoying to baseball people because you throw it out there as with the umbrella that's in the interest of the safety of the players, and he claims it really doesn't mean anything for the safety of the players. And he cited Chris Coughlin diving over a catcher trying to score at home plate, nearly breaking his neck, and he's like, how is that safer that we're doing that now to avoid collisions at home plate? And of course saying that, you know, he doesn't think it really does anything out at second base either to protect guys necessarily or change things out at the middle of the diamond.
I would disagree strongly with that. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of the rule changes.
Little roller up the middle, and that one's a base hit for Andrews.
But I will tell you that, I mean, listen, think about some of the injuries that we saw at home plate and guys going head first into catchers and barreling catchers. That's over with, right? Unless you're not in line where you're supposed to be, right? That's part of this, is that if a catcher blocks the plate, yes, then you can go ahead and barrel him over. But I think it's been a lot safer. We know, of course, that Buster Posey and his issue that he had kind of put that on the map. But yeah, things are a lot safer right now. Chris Coughlin diving over the catcher, that was his choice. He didn't have to do that. I mean, that was the only way he was going to get to home plate, but the ball had beat him. And part of those rules and the way that they have things set up now is that so when the ball beats you, you're not crushing a catcher to try to be safe. You want to try to jump over him? Hey, do that at your own peril. And second base, I think it's been a lot better. I didn't love either one of those rules when they went in, but to say that they're not any safer, I think is disingenuous.
One out here and a man on. I'll have to take that up with Joe.
Yeah.
No, but I agree with you too. And he kind of got talking out of both sides of his mouth, because he said, well, I guess there are less injuries now out at second base. And there are. I mean, guys aren't getting bowled over. They're not getting spiked and getting their knees rolled over.
But I think the point too, which would be a good one for me, is that some of that second base slide stuff took it a little bit too far. Like the fact that you still have to hold the bag, it was a little much for me. And then we saw how many guys were getting called out on that on instant replays. Like, I get it. Yeah, don't take the guy out. You can't go out of line, out of the baseline to just try to take him out. I get all that. And in return, the middle infielders have to hold the bag. All of that makes sense to me. And I think it's fair. But I think Joe Madden was probably just mad about a call that didn't go his way.
He was. I mean, wasn't even a double play attempt, but a slide into second where, and I don't even know who the runner was, didn't hold the bag, slid right over the top of it and through. And then it was deemed a double play.
Yeah.
And that is the rule. If there's any chance of it, whether you make a play at it or not, it is a double play. 1-2 the count on Nomar Mazara, who singled in the first inning. Rangers lead 2-1. They got both runs in the first inning. They have 5 hits already against Kendall Graveman. And they have had runners aboard in each of the first 3 frames so far. There goes a runner, and another foul ball by Mazara will reset things.
These Rangers base runners are very comfortable with their leads, and they're very comfortable taking some chances. Even in a 1-2 count, you could tell that Elvis Andrus was most likely going to be on the move there. And it's the combination of the fact that the A's have really struggled to throw base stealers out, but also that you feel like you're going to get contact. Nomar Mazara last time, same thing, putting Elvis Andrus in motion. And even with 2 strikes and down in a 1-2 count, trying to stay out of the double play. And if for some reason it's a ball, I feel pretty confident that Elvis Andrus can steal that base.
Elvis with a small lead, not going this time, and this one hit out towards center field. Davis coming on for it, and he will get there to make the catch, and there are 2 out.
Now batting the catcher, Jonathan Lucroy.
Well, that'll bring up Jonathan Lucroy. He bounced into a double play in the first inning. Lucroy did not play yesterday. Chirinos had the start and batted cleanup in the Rangers 6-5 win. But Lucroy had been swinging it a lot better lately. 2 hits on Friday, 2 hits on Thursday. Lucroy had 2 hits on Wednesday's game as well, and he takes a strike from Graveman. So there have been a lot of signs on this homestand of different individuals starting to get into a bit of a groove. Lucroy now has the average up to 263 coming into play today. Graveman continues to work out of that stretch and continues to work on Andrews. Graveman too. I mean, he spent some time on the disabled list this year. They called a strained right shoulder. Now that usually ends up being a much bigger deal. It's just a 10-day break for him. Bouncer shortstop and a nice high hop for Rosales. They'll go the short way and take care of Elvis, and that ends the inning. Rangers leave another man. We've played 3 innings. Rangers 2, Oakland 1.
As we welcome you back to Globe Life Park in Arlington. Time for our progressive fan of the game. I'm getting an assist from my daughter Hattie and my son Henry, presenting it to the woman who has been embarrassing me in public for 40 years, since 1977. My mom, Carol Barrett, with the progressive fan of the game. She's also, guys, an usher here at the ballpark, so she took the day off to help watch my kids out here at the game. Mom, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, honey.
Guys, back to you.
She's not done. She still has things to say.
She must be done. She must.
Oh, we love Carol. Underway here in the 4th inning. Popped up by Alonso. Foul ground, first base side, and Rua able to track it down, 1 away.
It's the second time my score sheet blew away today. A little windy in the booth. I literally went down to write down that pop-up, and my score sheet was nowhere to be found.
Again.
Where'd that thing go?
You need a personal assistant.
I am not opposed to that at all.
Take care of all the stuff you got going on over there.
Not opposed. If I had the Dave Raymond bankroll, I would have one right now.
There you go. It's a strike to Ryan Healy, who struck out swinging in the 2nd inning. He's 0 for 1. Now, Rangers have won 5 straight games. They're trying to make it 6 in a row this afternoon with A.J. Griffin on the mound.
You were talking earlier about A.J., and of course he's not a ground ball pitcher. There'll be a lot of fly balls, and so that sometimes means some home runs. Back in 2013, he had led all of Major League Baseball in home runs allowed with 36, but 25 of those were solo home runs. He does a really nice job, keeping runners off base, and yes, he will give up that occasional home run. This year, 4 of the 5 home runs that he has allowed have been solo home runs, and Curt Schilling was kind of always known as one of those guys. Yes, there'd be a lot of home runs, a lot of strikeouts, but a lot of times they were solo home runs. And if you can stay away from the multi-home run or multi-run home run, you're okay with it. You can live with that. Listen, they're going to score runs off you one way or another. The problem you start running into is if you're walking hitters, a couple guys on base, and then letting up those home runs, that's when things can be a little bit of a disaster. But that is not AJ's game at all.
This one a soft liner into left field for Healy, and he is on with 1 out in this 4th inning.
Third baseman Trevor Booth.
Take a look at Ryan Healy up against A.J. Griffin, and there's that slow breaking ball, not badly located at all. That pitch probably would have finished a ball, but Healy does a nice job of staying on it, keeping the hands back and slapping that ball into left field.
So A's have a base runner for Trevor Plouffe. He hit the home run earlier today and takes this breaking ball and rips it foul. Pretty healthy swing by Plouffe. Average of 237 for him. Now there's a man at first, and Plouffe has bounced into 8 double plays, 2nd most in the American League. And we say that Griffin not a ground ball pitcher, so you wouldn't necessarily be looking for it. This one hit high in the air out to left, but not going to travel for him. DeShields is back, makes the play, and there are 2 out. Well, the next Texas Chili Company Dollar Hot Dog Night is going to be this Wednesday. Rangers and Phillies, middle game of that series. So come on out to Globe Life Park. Enjoy ballpark hot dogs for just $1 each. You can get your tickets at TexasRangers.com or by calling 972-RANGERS. Top of the 4th inning. A 2-1 Rangers lead, and Stephen Vogt popped up his last time in. Takes ball 1. Vogt, a 2-time All-Star, and one of the guys a little bit more of a veteran presence for Oakland. They lean on him a little bit to be a leader, and it has been a tough year for him offensively, and that has hampered things a touch. Bob Melvin trying to figure out how to work around those early season struggles, and we saw yesterday started Bruce Maxwell and instead of Vogt, and that may be something that we or A's fans begin to see with a little more regularity. Different guys moving in and out of that catcher position. Vogt takes a 4-pitch walk.
It's interesting. You look at the A's, and you mentioned the age of Stephen Vogt at 32 and providing some veteran leadership. You might make the assumption, and I understandably so, that this team is really young. Actually not that young. If you start looking at Rajay Davis at 36 years old, Jed Lowry at 33, Trevor Plouffe is 30, Matt Joyce is 32. That's a lot of 30-year-olds for a team that you probably would look at and say, yeah, they're rebuilding team trying to get young, and that's usually how the A's always are. But there's not a lot of young position players on this team at all. I think the youngest, Chad Pinder at 25, Ryan Healy at 25. There are no position players that are active right now that are under 25 years old.
Strike to Mark Cannon. Now, talk to me on August 5th when most of those guys will be wearing different uniforms. Right? Well, a lot of them will.
That's a good point. No, you're absolutely right. But you almost feel like they would come into the season being that young. I mean, not necessarily the case all of a sudden in Oakland.
This ball hits straight up in the air out toward right field, and Gomez wants it, and he calls off Mazzara and makes the play, so the inning is over and the A's strand a couple more. We'll go to the bottom of the 4th. Rougned Odor will lead things off. That is Mike Napoli and Carlos Gomez in a 1-run game. Well, a beautiful Mother's Day today at Globe Life Park here in Arlington. Rangers leading 2-1. Great to have you along with us. Beltre, we were having fun with him yesterday. He was all suited up. Looks like he's added some wristbands today, some tape.
It's like a little kid, isn't he? Just wants to be out there so badly. This is as close as he can get with wristbands and towel over the head and sunglasses on, batting gloves, arms are taped up. He wants to be out there. He's going crazy. There's no doubt. As much as we want to see him out there, he wants to be out there that much more.
1-1 to Odor. Moogie struck out in the first inning. He's 0 for 1. Even Jeff Bannister mentioned it today. Said, yeah, he says it's been great. Love to see Adrian down there with all the equipment ready to go. I have to remind him, you're not ready yet. A little 4-3 put out takes care of Odor. 1 away in this 4th inning. Today was an off day of sorts for Beltre. He's been working out on the field before the games, before batting practice the last handful of days, and today was a day where they asked him just do nothing today, just relax, get ready for the game. So he continues to slowly make his way back from that strained calf. Mike Napoli 0 for 1. Leaving the count 1-1 on Napoli.
Almost got an usher that did not see that ball coming. And a guy with a Mike Napoli jersey on. That would have been pretty cool if he was ready for that.
You got to be watching all the time. Napoli hits this ball straight up in the air, deep to center field. But that wind will knock it down a little bit for Davis.
He just missed that one. We've seen a lot of that today where some fly balls, they seem like, unless you hit a line drive, you watch the outfielders a little bit and you see that those balls have been getting knocked down. I see a lot of outfielders kind of coming in at the very end. But look at this swing from Mike Napoli. He hits them high all the time. And I think on a different day, this story might have had a different ending. Mike Napoli just misses a home run there.
This ball spanked out toward right center field. It gets down. Base hit for Gomez. Bangs off the wall, and he'll have an easy 2-out double. That's the 11th double for Gomez already.
Carlos smokes this ball. Line drives are the name of the game today. As he gets a two-seam fastball, came back over the middle of the plate a little bit, but again, does such a nice job of not trying to pull his baseball against Kendall Graveman. You know that the ball is going to have some movement on it. Everything that he throws, nothing is straight. Carlos does a great job, and I know he was thinking 3 off the bat. I was. We got a great view, of course, from up here. We've seen him be very aggressive. We saw it yesterday, big turns around the bases. But he is smart. You never, of course, want to make that 3rd out at 3rd.
Gallo steps in now with a man to drive in, and that one gets away from Vogt. So heading to 3rd, Gomez on the wild pitch.
And we see this again between Kendall Graveman and Stephen Vogt. And he just tries to backhand that ball. Thought he could catch it in the air. He probably should have, but he wasn't thinking about getting down, squaring that baseball up, and trying to block it. He tried to do a glove only, and he could not. That counts as a wild pitch, of course, because it hit the dirt, but I think Stephen Vogt would tell you that ball probably should not be getting by him.
2 balls and no strikes now on Gallo. We have seen some big free bases in this series afforded the Rangers because of balls that have gotten away back there. Some wild pitches, some pass balls.
There's so much great data available instantly, a lot of it, right? We talk about the stuff that we get fed to us during the game, but some of the descriptions are, I think they're automatically generated. Just read here it said Mike Napoli flies out sharply to center field. I don't know if that's the adjective I'd be using to describe that fly out. Mike Napoli. He hit it hard. He just got under it. I don't think he flew out sharply.
Interesting word.
It's a new
choice.
phrase.
Yeah.
Most technology is good. Not all.
3-1 pitch. And that's ball 4. So Gallo draws the walk. Rangers have him on the corners now for Ryan Rua. It's the first walk issued this afternoon by Kendall Graveman. Now, you pointed it out earlier today, CJ. Graveman got off to a good start. We saw his second start of the year here, and he was dynamic. Took a no-hitter into the 7th inning. But after his first 3 starts of the year, it has not gone well for him. Today has managed to hold the Rangers to 2 runs so far. A little slow roller at third base. Cut off down there by Plouffe. And a sort of first in time that will end the inning. So the Rangers leave a couple more. We go to the 5th inning, 2-1. Baseball break brought to you by T-Mobile. A lot of news and excitement around baseball regarding Derek Jeter. His number 2 retired today at Yankee Stadium. And that means all the single-digit numbers finally retired by the Yankees. Amazing, really, that number 2 made it that far. Chris Sale, 7 straight games with at least 10 strikeouts, which is 1 game short of the major league record, which he holds. He shares it with Pedro Martinez. And then Jose Abreu yesterday, first to home on 3 consecutive wild pitches. Type of thing you don't see every day. Here we go to the 5th inning. Adam Rosales fouls off strike 1 from A.J. Griffin. Well, a well-pitched game here. 2-1 the score. Rangers got both runs in the first inning. Rosales walked in the 3rd inning in his first time up. Another nice crowd on this Mother's Day Sunday. What a perfect Sunday afternoon. It was 89 degrees at game time. Rosales golfs this one way up in the air out to left. DeShields feeling for the wall, and that one just does get out of here. And not by much. In fact, really by about the narrowest margin possible. Rosales hits his 3rd home run of the year and ties this game at 2.
This is one of those high fly balls that looked like it was going to come back. As I watched Delino DeShields kind of read this baseball, we knew it was going to be close. As you see, AJ with the 2-seam fastball, and Rosales is very good on pitches in. He is short to getting the barrel in. We've seen him do it a bunch of times. I didn't think he got enough of this one, but he did.
This one hit out to left field, and Delino having a little trouble corralling it. And Davis with a double.
Take one last look at this Adam Rosales home run and where it ended up at the wall. We'll see it here. You see Delano here. Just kind of felt like that one was going to blow back a little bit, but just caught the back end of that wall. Just barely cleared it. A total of 368 feet on that homer. What an impressive number.
So the Rosales homer, the double by Davis. And now Matt Joyce. Tie game now. Rangers have taken the first 2 of this series. We'll send the A's packing after this one. And the Rangers will enjoy a day off tomorrow. A little tight, 1-1. Rangers have played each of the last 17 days. This will end a streak today of 33 games in 34 days for the Rangers. So they've been on a pretty grueling treadmill lately. And we'll really appreciate that day off tomorrow. 1-2 the count now to Joyce, who has singled and grounded out.
Joyce represents the only ground out that we have seen today, so certainly AJ would like to watch him do that again. Keep the ball on the ground after we've seen those last couple of the fly ball and the line drive.
Andrews out there holding Davis at second base. Almost looks like a first baseman holding the bag. This ball hit in the air, center field. Back on it, Gomez. It's carrying well, and it's gone. That's a home run. Boy, off the bat, that one didn't look like it would carry that far. But indeed, a 2-run homer by Joyce, and Oakland leads 4-2.
All of a sudden, this pace and the feel of this game has changed in a hurry with a home run, a double, and now a home run off the bat of Matt Joyce. And I'm with you. I didn't think he got all this right away, but you see him go up and get plenty of it. And you kind of read the outfielders when you have a windy day like this. And Carlos Gomez's body language told us that ball was going to get out of here, and it did.
So Joyce with his 4th homer of the year. Now a big curveball swung on and missed. Lowry 0 for 2. 3 runs in this inning. I don't know if he held back or not. They want an appeal. He did not hold up. To Sherwater down there at third. Austin Rivens-Dirks warming again. We've seen this a couple of times. Hasn't had an opportunity yet to make that big league debut, but readying once more. This one lifted high in the air out to right. Mazzara comes in a few steps. 1 away.
Think about for Austin that first opportunity where he gets here to the big leagues, the adrenaline the very first time that phone rang and he was told to get up. That's a special feeling. You don't forget it. Each first that you experience at the big league level always will make an impact. And so he's been through this now a couple of times and kind of wondering, and he knows right now, kind of being the last man in the bullpen, that most likely he's not going to be coming in a close game with a lead unless it's extra innings, maybe in a tie game, just based on his role right now. And so there's a part of him that, yes, is dying to get out there and pitch, but at the same time that either means most likely the team is down, or the plus side would be, of course, if they're up by a bunch of runs, and then he would get an opportunity as well. So that'd be his preferred choice. But yes, he is anxious, I got to believe, to make that first big league appearance.
1 ball, 1 strike on Alonso. And he chases one upstairs. Alonso, it's flat out to left, popped up in foul ground on that first base side. 0 for 2. 3 home runs today for Oakland. There's a swinging strikeout to take care of Alonso, so 2 away.
Alonso was not satisfied with himself at all as he goes up out of the zone, to chase that A.J. Griffin fastball, and it probably looked really big coming out of A.J.'s hand, but look how high this ball is. I don't care how hard you're throwing it, it's difficult to get by, and bat flipped them on a punch out.
So 2 away now. And Ryan Healy, 1 for 2 today. Breaking ball in there for a strike. So the 3 home runs allowed, that is a career high for A.J. Griffin, ties a career high. The A's have been hitting a lot of home runs this year, especially recently. Called strike, count 0-2. They've hit now 16 home runs in their last 8 games, this being the 8th. And now have 50 long balls for the year. So the A's offense, you know, I keep thinking, wow, that looks similar to what the Rangers have done. This one a little in. But I've said that about the Padres. Said it about the Oakland A's. We've seen that trend basically being the same for everybody now. You know, a lot of the offense is predicated on hitting the ball out of the ballpark.
Well, this is where we are now in the game. High strikeouts, lower batting averages, big power. And teams are okay with it, and they've encouraged it. I think that's the one thing that may be so different if you go back 15, 20 years ago, that if you were one of those players, you were trying to change to some degree. You're trying to hit for a better average. You're trying to cut down your swing a little bit. Maybe that would cost you some power, but I think teams have accepted that a lot more now than they have in the past.
Bouncer up the middle. Odor with a good backhand. It's throw to first in time, and they just get Ryan Healy. But 3-run score on a couple of homers. Halfway to the house this afternoon. Oakland leads by 2. Delano DeShields will lead off this 5th inning. So Nomar and Ryan Rule getting in there as well.
A cool opportunity to wish your mother a happy birthday. Excuse me, happy Mother's Day, and to do it on television, right? Now, if you do that, do you still have to call?
Yes.
You do?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yep. Delano takes a strike.
I'm not gonna wish my wife a happy Mother's Day on TV, because if it holds true when she usually watches any game that I do, usually it leads to a nap for her, as she has told me many times. You know, moms are busy, they're doing their thing, they never realize how tired they are until they actually stop and kind of sit still for a minute. So there are a handful of times where I've been doing this now for a few years, where my wife has stopped to watch and give me some feedback on how I'm doing. Say how'd it go. I don't know, I fell asleep.
Little bounce at third, and DeShields erased for the first out of the 5th inning. Brings up Elvis Andrus. That's one of the greatest gifts anyone could give.
Help her sleep.
A little nap.
Yeah. Oh. So it's kind of my gift to her on Mother's Day or any other day that she has to tune in, or she will tune in and listen to me. It's what good husbands do. They find ways to help their wives relax a little bit, right? Yeah. But there's been some consistency there for her, she's told me, especially when I was doing college games. College games, generally, if they're smaller conference games, there's not a lot of excitement surrounding those on the TV side. I know you've done it before as well, and it's just kind of a, and that'll put you to sleep every time. Unless you're really into it, and it's one of your teams playing the game.
Well, even if you are.
We'll find out if the streak continues.
Andrews fouls one off, the count 0-2. Elvis with an infield hit in the first inning, and that brought home a run. And then he hit one into center field his next time up in the third. So a couple of good at-bats today off Graveman. Slow chopper short. And Rosales hustles it over to first. 2 away. Time for a Chevy game break. Back to the Bronx we go. Astros and Yankees today. And Aaron Judge takes over the Major League Baseball home run lead, his 14th big fly. This one went 441 feet, broke a 3-3 tie. The Astros, however, answered with 2 runs. And now Houston leads 5-4 in New York. Two outs. And Nomar Mazara. Nomar takes a strike. Nomar singled in the first and flied out in the third. So the Rangers going to have to come back again this afternoon if they are indeed going to win this game and sweep this series, trailing by 2. And the comebacks lately have all been in late innings. Yesterday, it was a 4-run 7th inning that provided the winning margin. Each of the previous 2 nights, it was 4 runs in the 9th inning on both Thursday and Friday night. So they have made it dramatic to get to this 5-run, or rather 5-game winning streak. And it looks as if they may have to do that very same thing again. Graveman taking the long look in, and Mazara again asked for time. This ball hit well out to center field. Davis going back near the wall, and he will make the catch. And it ends the 5th inning. That's one I thought might travel. A 9-pitch inning for Graveman. We go to the 6th. Is brought to you by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. And by North Texas Ford. The Great American Sales Event is happening now at your local Texas Ford dealer. Ford is the best in Texas. Well, happy Mother's Day. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday afternoon. Likely spending it with family, taking care of the kids. Nothing like it. We go to the 6th inning, and it is a 4-2 game as A.J. Griffin continues to toil. Give up a couple of home runs in the 5th. And Oakland has taken the lead. Trevor Plouffe, the man he deals with now, is a guy who opened the scoring back in the 2nd inning for Oakland with a home run.
One thing we hadn't talked about with A.J., one of the many things that he's done well this year, we talk about how quickly he works. They keep a stat on Fangraphs, a website there, where they call it pace, right? And how much time pitchers take in between pitches, and so they can put a number on it. And, you know, you watch a game, you have an idea of maybe who works fast and who works slow. But A.J. Griffin does a fantastic job. So his number on his pace is 19.7, which is 7th best in the big leagues. He keeps a really good pace. And we kind of talked about and say, well, is that the reason why he usually gets really good run support, why the guys have played well behind him? That is out of 97 qualified starting pitchers in the big leagues. Does a really good job of getting the ball, getting right back on the mound, and delivering a pitch.
Well, he walks Plouffe to open the 6th inning. He talks about a lot, throwing with conviction, right? He's getting up there, get the sign, trusting his catcher, and just feeling like, yep, that's a pitch, and I'm going to throw it to the best of my ability. Not a hesitation at all, no doubt in his mind.
You have to. You have to pitch that way to be successful in the big leagues. Any pitcher who has struggled will tell you there are times where you get caught in between. If you don't pitch with conviction, if you don't pitch with confidence, these big league hitters will be all over you, or you're going to run into problems where you're constantly falling behind in the count if you don't believe in your stuff or don't believe in what you're doing. Walk guys, then have to throw over the middle of the plate because you're behind the count all the time. You're going to get crushed at that level as well. And we talked about A.J. trying to get to that 5-0 record in his first 6 starts of the season in Rangers history. There are some pitchers who have done that going back to 1988 and Jeff Russell. Tommy Hunter, the most recent, back in 2010.
Griffin, though, trailing at the moment and may well be nearing the end of his afternoon as his pitching coach, Doug Brocail, dispatched back into the dugout. Our home plate umpire, Jim Reynolds, had to go out there and break up the conversation and send him back. So it might well have been a session to buy a little more time for Jeremy Jeffress, loosening in the bullpen. Vogt fouls this one back, the count 1-1.
So if A.J. wants that victory, he certainly has to finish this inning. That's the only way that he can get there. They may require him maybe inducing a double play, 2 outs on 1 pitch, give him a chance to finish this 6th.
He's managed just 2 ground balls all day. Everything else in the air or a strikeout. And he has walked 3. And for Griffin, that is a new season high for him. Sixth start of the year for Griffin, and oddly 3 of the starts now against his former organization. Came up with the Oakland A's, injured himself, had Tommy John surgery, rehab, took about 2 years, and once he got back to healthy, they released him, and he was a little hurt.
Oh, no doubt. That left a real bad taste in his mouth, and that was part of the reason he was excited to face the A's for the first time.
That one just flared out into short right field, a base hit for Vogt. Plouffe had to stop at second base, 2 men on in the 6th inning.
And you could understand that from A.J. Griffin, right? You go through everything with an organization, the one that you come up with, and you work your tail off to rehab, and you feel like you're ready to go, and then they decide they no longer want to keep you.
Well, here comes Jeff Bannister. So that will necessitate the move to the bullpen. Jeffress has been loosening out there. He is coming on. A 2-run game when we come back. And Jeff Bannister obviously feeling like just can't afford to let any more damage occur here in the 6th inning. So A.J. Griffin done. 5 innings, faced a couple of hitters, 7 hits, 4 runs so far, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, and Jeremy Jeffress on for the 20th time this year. Bannister has a lot of confidence in Jeffress. He's used him quite a bit. You can see the record 1 and 2, a .470 earned run average. One thing about Jeffress is he induces contact, can get those ground balls, and that's what the Rangers need right here with nobody out and 2 men aboard. Oakland 1 for 3 today with runners in scoring position. That's the situation now. Plouffe is at second, Vogt is at first. It's like Dario Alvarez now loosening up out there.
And that false alarm as well for Austin Gibbons-Dirks again. He'll get used to it. That is life in the bullpen. Obviously, he's used to it already. He's been in the bullpen, but at the big league level, it's going to happen. Now, it could be that Jeff Bannister would rather give him a clean inning in his big league debut. And I know he's not a young kid. He's 32 years old, but just even the idea of bringing him in with runners on base and dealing with all that emotion of your first big league outing, maybe a clean inning would be his preference. So bring a guy in there who's been there and done that before, has taken on inherited runners at the big league level the way that Jeremy has.
Had some fun talking to Gibbons-Dirks the other day about the weight as it continues for him. And we decided he's kind of like the Maytag repairman. Bouncer shortstop. Andrews second base 1. The relay in time, double play. Well, you wanted Jeffress in there to get that ground ball and the potential to turn 2, and he gets it done. Plouffe is at third, but they're 2 out in the inning.
This is a really nice turn. This is not an automatic. As you see the breaking ball kind of up and away from Cannon. Tries to pull that ball, rolls over it, but this has to happen quickly. Perfect feed from Elvis Andrus. And I will tell you this too, watching Rougned Odor regularly now, his arm is impressive at second base, especially when it matters. He knows how to crank it up, and when he has to crank it up, and he put a lot on that throw and threw a perfect strike to Ryan Rue at first.
So now 2 outs. And Adam Rosales, who homered and has walked. Jeffress runs 1 in on him.
We talked about that pace earlier with A.J. Griffin. This where things go in the opposite direction with Jeremy Jeffress. Out of the 187 qualified relievers, Jeremy is actually the slowest at 31.7. We talked about he's very deliberate in what he does in between pitches. That is where he is most comfortable.
So would there be an advantage strategically for Jeff Bannister to go from one of the quickest working starters to the slowest working?
It's interesting. You know what? I never really
arm?
put much thought into that. We'll have to ask him about that and say, got a guy that's quick. I would say that he would say no, just because obviously for a manager and coaches, they always prefer that every pitcher works quickly, but that doesn't work for everybody.
1 and 2 on Rosales.
So, you know, he was talking about it today, keeping the defense sharp, keeping guys in the game, everything else. So probably not. Or he'd be okay with, you know, 1 slow, 1 fast. But at the end of the day, it always becomes about what is most comfortable for the pitcher. You don't want to get him out of his comfort zone, ask him to do something he's not capable of doing. And in the case of Jeremy Jeffress, that means don't push him to be any quicker. This is where he is most effective.
1-2 to Rosales. He wouldn't chase it. Well, Adams had a good day today. The walk, the home run. And he has handled his position at short well. Yesterday, we're having a little fun because he's wearing the green socks. Today, on Mother's Day, he is drawn to the pink.
And pink?
No, I think it looked gray.
Oh, okay. Better look.
Man at third, 2 out. And Rosales stays alive.
I'd like to know how far away we are from going to the full pink helmet. I'd be in.
See that happening.
It's a good auction item too, right? Obviously they do this for breast cancer awareness, but also then the auction items that raise money. The pink helmet would be a good one to have.
Jeffers trying to put an end to this 6th inning. This one out towards center field. Gomez coming on into a dive, and he got it. Carlos Gomez hauls it in, and the inning is over. And Jeffers will give him a hand. Brought to you by Sonic Drive-In. Today's jackpot, $1,900 plus dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. Today the Rangers hitting for Philip Terry from Valley Mills, Texas. So if a Ranger hits a home run this inning, then Philip wins $1,900. If a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, then he wins $25,000. So those are the stakes here in the 6th inning. The 1-0 pitch to Lucroy. High strike call, and it is 1-1.
What's the do we know the history? Have there been many or any $25,000 winners? Check the StatCast on that.
Dave Burchett will know.
I guess yeah, probably get somebody that's been here a little bit longer, around more than you and I have.
There have been a couple.
It has been. All right. It's got to be pretty exciting, right?
I'd say that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Throw a little cut to the player. No, not these days.
This one flared foul, keeps the count 1-2 on Lucroy, who is 0 for 2 so far this afternoon. You're talking more like a pass the hat kind of thing in the minor leagues. When you were in the minor leagues, did
no,
they have that at any place? Pass the hat?
I mean, you know what? They may have. I wasn't getting it passed to me for doing anything. Yeah, that's for bombs. Maybe I've helped the hat get passed.
You filled the hat.
Made some people some cash along the way. Let's take a look at our State Farm winning combination for today, and it's Jonathan Lucroy and what he has done on both sides of the ball for this club. Check him out. First of all, at the plate, 7 for his last 11, swinging the bat really well. What stuck out to me is how he's driven the ball up the middle, the other way. He's been outstanding with 2 strikes the entire season, and then behind the plate, and not just throwing out 4 of the last 5 runners, which of course is a really nice number to see at 80%. But what he has done with his pitching staff and how good the starters have been as of late, right? Leading Major League Baseball right now in quality starts. And so Jonathan Lucroy, both sides of the ball with the glove, with the bat, is our State Farm winning combination.
Well, the 2-2, and he'll shoot this one up the middle. That's a base hit. So Lucroy is on to start the 6th inning. We'll get Rougned Odor to the plate.
The approach has been so solid by Jonathan Lucroy after a slow start to the season. Things really have been going his way lately, but I just mentioned it as we talked about that State Farm winning combination. But with the bat, he's not trying to do too much. He has been so good with 2 strikes. He's very difficult to finish. You know, we talk about, and you were talking about earlier, like where we are right now with big swings, strikeouts, home runs, power, everything else is going on in the game. Jonathan Lucroy doesn't necessarily fit that mold. He does a really nice job of shortening up with 2 strikes and putting the ball in play and putting a little bit of pressure on the defense. I think Rugi could give that fan a souvenir. Be a nice time to do it.
You should at least try. Guy's wearing his jersey.
And it is the Sonic inning as well. Really a win for everybody all the way around.
We've had one Sonic winner this year, and it was at $1,900.
Oh.
And we're at $1,900 again today, so maybe this is the day. 1-1 on Odor, who has struck out and grounded out today. We'll check in over there at first on Lucroy, but nothing doing over there. Rangers have been running in this series and again this afternoon, so a wise move by Graveman. Little room down that third baseline for Rugi. He is certainly prone to pull it. And hits this one in the air slightly the other way, but it's hanging up out there for Davis. And there's one away.
As much as we have seen Jeff Bannister be pretty comfortable putting some runners in motion against Kendall Graveman because he is a high contact pitcher, a lot of ground balls, trying to stay out of double plays. I think not necessarily you want to be doing that with Rougned Odor, those bigger swings, some swing and miss in his game, and I'd say probably not with Mike Napoli either. We'll see, depending on the count. Benny's got to feel pretty comfortable that his hitter is going to be putting the ball in play in those situations.
Time asked for by vote, and so they will reset. Napoli 0 for 2. He has struck out looking, and he is flied out to center field. Rangers looking for that late inning magic again today. This homestand has started to feel a lot like last year. Winning close games, winning them late. Coming from behind. It was a struggle for the first 4-5 weeks of the year as this team felt its way around a little bit, trying to find the right spots for certain guys in the lineup, how they would run things without Adrian Beltre. Bouncer shortstop. Rosales goes to second for one. Should be an easy turn. It is. And the double play ends the inning. We've played 6 complete so far this afternoon. Oakland leads by 2. Time for the 4-game summary as we go to the 7th inning. Oakland with the 4-2 lead. 3 home runs today for the A's. Trevor Plouffe, Adam Rosales, and then Matt Joyce with a 2-run shot. A.J. Griffin pitched into the 6th inning. A season high 3 walks, a career high 3 home runs. He did not pitch poorly, but it was not his best today, and as a result trails by 2. We had a great Mother's Day crowd this afternoon. It's been a really hopping homestand. Good crowds all week. Tomorrow an open date, and then the Phillies in town Tuesday through Thursday to wrap up this homestand for the Rangers. And there's ball 1 delivered to Rajai Davis.
Why wouldn't you be here? It's been a great homestand already for the Rangers. We've had tremendous weather as well. I get to see some winning baseball in a great park. Good weather. I mean, what else could you ask for?
No, it's been pretty close to perfect, really. You talk about winning baseball. That's been the big part of it. They've won the first 4 games of this homestand, but they've done it in heart-stopping, thrilling fashion. I mean, they have just been terrific games. And a ground ball hit to third. Nice high hop for Gallo. It's to show off the arm. Davis erased to start the 7th. Rangers fans, download the Fox Sports Go app and take Rangers baseball with you wherever you go. If you can't catch your games on TV, well, you can still stream them live on your mobile device with the Fox Sports Go app, presented by Hyundai. So with 1 out, here comes Jeff Bannister. He'll take the baseball. The left-hander Matt Joyce coming up. Alvarez is loose, and here he comes. So Alvarez coming on. We take a break in the 7th.
Here in Arlington, although the Texas Rangers are trailing the Oakland A's by a score of 4-2. Fans, the next Throwback Thursday is this week when the Rangers take on the Philadelphia Phillies. The first 10,000 fans will receive a Papa John's Texas Rangers throwback jersey collector pin. This pin commemorates Nolan Ryan's 7th no-hitter. Is that all? Get your tickets at texasrangers.com or by calling 972-RANGERS. 7 no-hitters. That's it, huh?
Not impressed?
Oh, am I?
He was pretty good.
Couldn't even throw one in high school.
Did you ever get close?
College, took one into the 9th.
Okay.
Led up 2 runs.
Did you get nervous?
You know, we were crushing Boston College too at the time. I just blew it. Story of my life, Dave Raymond. Dario Alvarez now on here for the Rangers. You see the numbers there for Alvarez.
Well, he's got Matt Joyce, left-handed hitter. We saw Joyce hit one out in the 5th inning. It was a weird one because off the bat it looked like it was going to be a fly ball to, pretty deep center field. But it ended up out on Greens Hill out there, 412 feet away. Good for 2 runs, which right now is the difference in this game. It isn't a hole here. 0-2 to Dario Alvarez. Jeffress gets credit for an inning pitched. Recorded 3 outs and did not allow a runner. And a swinging strikeout of Joyce. So Alvarez comes in and carves up his first opponent.
This is great work here by Dario Alvarez. It is fastball, and then finishing Matt Joyce off with that strike the ball slider. It just finishes off the plate. And that is perfect work from a left-handed reliever against a left-handed pitcher. Feeble swing there by Matt Joyce.
So with 2 gone, it'll bring up the switch hitter Jed Lowry, who has to bat from the right side. Lowry's 0 for 3 so far today. And he hits one back by the mound. And that one threw into center field. Andrews couldn't quite get to it. And Lowry has his first hit of the day. So the A's with a base runner. Brings up Yonder Alonso. And Alonso's been collared so far today in 3 trips.
He has had that strong season that we talked about, has shown a lot of power, but Yonder Alonso is still struggling against lefties. Came in today with just a 200 batting average against left-handed pitching. Does have 3 home runs though against lefties, but you compare that to the damage that he has done against right-handed pitching. 326 with 9 of those 12 home runs coming against righties. So this is the matchup that they want. Doug Brocail kind of going over that scouting report a little bit and how they want to handle Yonder Alonso. They know this could be a big point in the game, so they've got to make sure that you confirm everything you want to do, how you want to handle him, and also you base it on what you saw today as well, if there's anything different in the swing. But it's a big spot here for Dario Alvarez.
Alonso with that big open stance. And they will check in on Lowry.
And the other thing too in those situations, sometimes you look at scouting reports, okay, well, you know, this guy hits this, he hits that, whatever it may be, but guys also will change their tendencies based on the situation of the game. Right? We talked about it last night about RBI situations, and so if there is something that Doug Brocail really wanted Dario to be careful with first pitch, that's something he also mentions there in that meeting.
It just misses in for ball 1 to Alonso. Lefty on lefty battle here. A 2-run game, but the A's have a big runner out there for their biggest slugger in the lineup for the 7th inning. So every out now becomes critical. And this ball hit high in the air out to right field. Not going to carry. Mazzara way in. Kerplunk. Inning over. A's leave a man. We will stand and stretch here at Globe Life Park and enjoy another rendition of God Bless America. We send it over to PA man Chuck Morgan.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise and direct your attention to the area behind home plate and welcome John Little. In honor of all the veterans who have served our country and the servicemen and women who are currently stationed at home and around the world, John Little will now perform God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with love. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. Baseball is brought to you by Southwest. Yes to low fares with nothing to hide. That's transparency. And by AT&T Internet. Visit AT&T.com/keep calm to learn more. Well, happy Mother's Day. Welcome back. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning. 4-2 Oakland. Thanks so much for spending part of your weekend with us. Here on Fox Sports Southwest, I'm Dave Raymond with CJ Nikowski and Emily Jones. On the first pitch, that one laced into left field, a base hit for Gomez, who continues a real good day. He's 3 for 3.
You're not kidding. And Carlos Gomez does not wait around at all, jumping on a first pitch fastball. And you hear that from up here. That ball was allowed off of Carlos Gomez's bat. Another two-seam fastball, but one that stays elevated enough for Carlos to square it up. And you see Trevor Plouffe has absolutely no chance. Even that ball was about just a few feet to his left, but smoked by Carlos.
That thing over 110 miles per hour anyway off the bat. That thing was absolutely crushed. So Gomez is on, has good speed. Here's Gallo, and he takes low. Gallo walked his last time up. Of course, Joey hit the game winner Friday off the foul pole in right. Graveman's pitch, that one nubbed off the end of the bat. Down that third base line. Graveman picks, throws, and he does get Gallo. And that's a pretty nice play by Kendall Graveman. All right, time for another Chevy game break. And this time we take you north of the border. Mariners and Blue Jays. Kevin Pillar takes Edwin Diaz deep. A walk-off home run that secures the 4-game sweep for Toronto. A 3-2 final. And so the struggles continue for Seattle. And I saw a note today, CJ, about the Seattle Mariners. And then I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a joke. So I went back and I started to dig through it. Since opening day, the Seattle Mariners have made a transaction, some kind of player move, every 15 hours and 45 minutes since opening day.
On average.
On average.
So if you make 2 in one day, that's 1 every 12 hours. That's kind of how that would work. Right. Okay. So it's a lot. So it's almost 2 a day, essentially. Yeah. And they were really busy in the offseason. They kind of became the running joke with the Seattle Mariners and talking about how many moves they were making. That roster, that 40-man roster, had a lot of turnover.
This ball golfed out there to left field. Canna able to reach up and make the play. 2 gone. Well, that ball well struck.
Tough break there for Ryan Rua in his 3rd at-bat today. Squared that one up pretty good, but unfortunately hit it right at Canna, like you mentioned. And then even on that play prior to that, before we went to that game break, I thought when Joey Gallo nubbed that ball off the end of his bat, that was going to be a base hit. There was a little bit of shift, but Kendall Graveman hopped off the mound very quickly, did a good job of getting to that ball, making a good throw, and now Stephen Vogt wants to talk to Kendall Graveman. And so does Bob Melvin that went out there.
It is. So Skipper heads out there as well.
He made an interesting comment the other day after Sonny Gray's start about saying, you know what, leaving him out there because it looked like he was getting himself in a little bit of trouble. There were some balls that were squared up. But saying, you know, essentially he wanted to make sure that he was relaying to Sonny Gray that he has the confidence in him to continue to go and get back to that ace status and getting to the point where he is and where he's been in the past in his career. You see Ryan Madson now warming up, and I got to believe that message is somewhat the same there right now for Kendall Graveman, who at times has pitched a little bit like an ace. Right? We mentioned in the open how good he was at the beginning of the season, how good he was last time he pitched against the Texas Rangers, and realistically probably a really good number 2 on a deep pitching staff, and one that expects to compete. So that same message, I believe Bob Melvin trying to give to Kendall Graveman as well.
You see his numbers by inning, and it was that first inning. Well, the Rangers working for 3 hits and a couple of runs. Since then, he's been very good. He's got Gomez out there at second, 2 outs. And the 1-0 to DeShields, fouled away.
They're not afraid to let him go a little bit. He was up over 100 pitches in his very first start of the season, 104 overall in that start. His last couple, 95, 94, right about where he is right now. So I believe Bob Melvin and part of that conversation and maybe trying to rally Kendall Graveman a little bit and saying, hey, give me everything you have here on this hitter. Finish this inning for me, and most likely they turn it over to the pen if he can do that.
1-1. And that one foul tipped. So DeShields in a hole, a ball and 2 strikes. Delano had the base hit in the first inning, stole second, and while he was stealing, the ball got away from Vogt, went to third, and then came in on the Andrews infield hit. It looked like that was going to be a great start to a potentially big inning. First 3 Rangers all had hits off Graveman. And Graveman got a big double play off of Jonathan Lucroy's bat, and that got him back in the game, and he has battled since. Works with a 2-run lead. Rangers have had at least 1 hit in every inning since, except the 5th. And this one fouled away again, so it stays 2-2.
And you remember, of course, that A's fans were not happy when Josh Donaldson was traded to the Toronto Blue Jays, but Kendall Graveman was one of those arms that came back in that deal. Brett Lowry was in that trade as well, but Kendall Graveman was the biggest name of the group. It was 4 that came over. He's the one that has stuck out the most, and so far so good for him here with the Oakland A's.
His 2-2. Delano really battling with him here in the 7th inning. Well, that is what the Oakland A's do. They package some of the veteran guys who can help teams in a race, and they're very good about getting back good young talent like Kendall Graveman. He's 26 years old now. Graveman won 10 games last year for Oakland, lost 11. And that was his first full season in the big leagues. Pitched part of 2014 with Toronto, part of 2015 with Oakland, and he misses low. It's full count. Well, up against it a little bit here. There's no doubt in the back of his mind what the Rangers have been able to do the last couple of days. Man at second, 3-2 to DeShields. And a bouncer, third base. That's a fair ball. Glove by Plouffe. And so the first, not in time. Here comes Gomez. He'll score!
That is tremendous base running by Carlos Gomez, who did not slow down for a minute. A couple of guys looking at him and saying, hey, man, maybe a slide there. It was a little bit close. Just a play it safe. But you knew that Delino DeShields was going to be giving it everything he had down the line. You knew this was going to be a tough play. And that is the value. We keep talking about what a different speed can make. But look at Carlos Gomez. A little bit of hesitation there. And you wanted to make sure that throw was going to first. And as soon as he saw it, he took off and exploded for home. And he was grabbing his right hamstring a little bit as he crossed the plate. But watch Carlos Gomez right here. Actually almost pulled up for a second. I got to believe maybe. Wondering if there should have been a slide there, but it doesn't matter. The run comes across. Carlos Gomez is safe.
So an infield hit and an RBI for DeShields makes it a one-run game with all kinds of speed over at first. Oakland into the bullpen, a pitching change in this 7th inning as it gets interesting once again. Back in a moment. Have drawn to within a run, tying run out at first to the form of Delino DeShields and Ryan Madson, making his 13th appearance for Oakland. Graveman is out, and that is good news for the Rangers. Graveman has pitched well again today, and he hands over a one-run lead. It's been a warm Sunday afternoon and getting a little hotter at the moment. Andrews hits this ball out to the gap, left center field. That's down and a base hit. DeShields with excellent speed. They'll wave him all the way. He's to the plate, and this game is tied. Andrews with the RBI double, and we're square at 4.
We talked about Elvis Andrews today and how strong and good he has been with runners in scoring position. Now, technically, that is not an at-bat with a runner in scoring position, but he drives a run in from first base. When you have Delino DeShields on first base, he kind of is in runner in scoring position, and this ball is drilled into the left field gap, and a no-doubter when it comes to the idea of Delino DeShields scoring from first with 2 outs, and Elvis Andrews comes through again and gets the swipe right. T to the S, not S to the T.
Well, I'll take it one step further. He's now in scoring position for Mazara. Yesterday, a 4-run 7th decided the game. Today, 2 runs in the 7th to tie it. And we're not done yet. Mazara takes a strike. He's 1 for 3 today. And close the book on Kendall Graveman. 6 2/3 innings, 4 runs on 9 hits, a walk and 2 strikeouts. Madsen responsible for Andrews at second. It's 1-1. With a late inning runs on this homestand has been the difference. Rangers working on a 5-game winning streak. Longest of the year. And trying to take that winning streak one further and into the off day. Madsen. Not sure what it was that caused him to stop. But now resets. And this one scooped out to right field. That's a base hit. Andrews will score, and the Rangers back in front. 5-4 on Mazara's RBI single.
Nomar Mazara has been red hot, and it's not just the base hits, but the quality of the at-bats. Remember, he drilled that ball to center field in his last at-bat. Of course, he also had a base hit in the first, but look at this pitch. That is a pretty good pitch. That ball is down below the zone, and Nomar goes down, and he gets it right. Madsen's got to be frustrated because he feels like he put that ball exactly where he wanted to. But when you're facing a red-hot Nomar Mazara, he's even going to hit a pitcher's best pitch.
Still 2 out. Mazara takes his lead. Jonathan Lucroy, and he takes a strike. So Madsen had given up just 2 runs this year coming in. Both those runs had resulted in losses. April 14th, April 25th. He's given up a run here this afternoon. And it's allowed the Rangers to take the 1-run lead. 1-1 now, the count to Lucroy. Nothing Graveman can do from the dugout, and you can see the frustration on his face. Very close, 2-1 to Lucroy. So 3 runs across in this 7th inning. It started with Carlos Gomez ripping a ball into left field. Moved to second on a ground out, scored on the infield hit by Delano DeShields. How big was that hustle? This one poked out to second. Lowry will go to first, retire Lucroy and in the inning, but the Rangers get back in front. 3 runs on 4 hits. They leave a man, and it's 5-4 Texas to the 8th. Top of the 8th inning, and it's turned once again in these late innings. Hey, our AT&T matchup for Tuesday, an off day tomorrow, but Tuesday back at it again. And Yu Darvish will start the opener for the Rangers. We're still waiting to hear who will start for the Phillies. Aaron Altier, though, he has had a real good start to the year for Philadelphia. As you can see, 7 homers and 21 RBIs. The Phillies 13 and 20, 9 games back of Washington coming into play today out in the National League East. All right, we had some changes this inning defensively, but back to last inning.
Yeah, solace for Carlos Gomez as he crossed home plate. He originally looked like he kind of grabbed his right hamstring, right leg there a little bit. Didn't look too serious, but obviously the Rangers, and you see him grimacing right there as he comes in, realize there's a reason why they wanted to get him out of this game. Hopefully it is nothing too significant. Carlos Gomez has been a huge part of this recent success here for the Rangers.
So now to the 8th inning we go. And the first pitch in there for a strike to Ryan Healy. Sam Dyson has come on to pitch.
It's a big moment here, big spot here for Sam Dyson. Obviously 1-run lead here in the 8th inning, and back in a game that is close where it matters. This would be a nice confidence booster for him if he could provide a clean inning.
He dumps in another strike. All right, so now defensively, Pete Kozma has taken over at first base. So that moves Rua out to left field and displaces Delano DeShields into center, where Gomez was originally. The 0-2 to Healy, and he bounces it left side of the infield. Long throw for Elvis Andrus, and it's in there to take care of Healy. 1 away. Well, the Rangers take on the Tampa Bay Rays on Memorial Day. That's Monday, May 29th, and the first 15,000 fans to the ballpark will receive a patriotic Rangers cap, courtesy of Carter Blood Care. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com or by calling 972-RANGERS.
If you're curious about Pete Kozma, we know that he's a great defender. He's been an infielder, really hasn't played very much outfield, but this will be just his 3rd inning at first base in his career. Been in the big leagues for, what is it, 6 years now. But has not seen a ton of time at first base, but looked pretty comfortable on that throw from Elvis Andrus as he had to reach up for it.
One out, and the 1-0 to Trevor Plouffe. Taken for a strike. Plouffe has homered, he has walked, and he's also flied out to left. I do think that's one of the things that attracted the Rangers to Pete Kozma, was that obviously they like him because he can play shortstop if needed, play a little outfield if needed, and they feel confident he can handle first. He'll get another opportunity here on the ground ball to short. Looks good. 2 away. All right, Rangers fans, well, we invite you out to the ballpark May 17th, not to the ballpark rather, but an autograph session with Rangers third baseman Joey Gallo at the Whataburger at 3204 Town East Boulevard in Mesquite. That's a 10:30 a.m. autograph session. While there, sign up to be the Whataburger What a Fan. And you could win tickets to a Rangers game and Whataburger for a year. Visit TexasRangers.com/appearances for more information on that May 17th autograph session at Whataburger in Mesquite.
So you saw Claudio there in the bullpen for the Rangers, a lefty. He was ready. Now, most likely Jeff Bannister had gotten him up if Sam Dyson had gotten in any trouble with Stephen Vogt due up 3rd. There's only one lefty on the bench, and Maxwell is their backup catcher, so he most likely is not going to pinch hit. So there's not another lefty now for 4 more hitters. So most likely this is Sam Dyson's inning to finish.
See, spikes that one.
Jim Reynolds said, "I'm out." As soon as he saw that ball in the dirt, you know, he might get a little flinch or a little duck here and there, but it was a hard left turn. Take a look at Jim Reynolds here. As soon as he sees this, because he set up in, I'm going to get out of here. Yep, just get out of here right now. No, thank you.
1-1 to Vogt. Well, Dyson on here in the 8th inning in a 1-run game. Vogt, we've talked a lot about his struggles in this series, but he has walked today, also has a base hit, so for him it's been a very good afternoon. A day in which the A's have scored 4 runs on 8 hits. Won't chase that one though, and it's 3-1. Dyson got the first 2 outs. Fairly routine ground balls to short. And now dumps in a strike. Full count to Vogt.
It's a nice pitch from Sam Dyson, behind in the count. 3-1 fastball count. It's a 1-run game, so you're not going to give in and just throw a fastball down the middle. And so he pulls that string on a changeup, and that is perfectly located against the left-handed hitter.
Payoff pitch. This one lined out toward right field. Coming on for it is DeShields, but he'll have to take it on a hop. So Vogt is on with his second hit of the day. Well, we have received word on Carlos Gomez, and it is a right hamstring strain. He will have an MRI tomorrow, and they will further evaluate things then. So Chad Pinder is on to pinch run for Vogt in this 8th inning. That brings up Mark Canha. 0 for 3 today. A.J. Griffin pitched into the 6th inning. Allowed 4 runs on 7 hits. Jeremy Jeffress, an inning and a third scoreless. Dario Alvarez gave up a hit, but 2/3 of an inning scoreless. Now Dyson. It's strike 1 in there to Canha. Canha's averages continued to dip today. He came in right at 200. Falling all the way down to 179 at the moment. Small lead at first for Pinder. Boy, big swing and a miss makes it 0-2.
And those are back-to-back really nice 2-seam fastballs from Sam Dyson. That is the pitch that makes him so effective. The big thing for him is making sure that he's getting that downward action on it, not getting sideways. Look at how that ball just kind of darts down and in against a right-handed hitter. It's a great shot of where his finger placement is. He would run into a little bit of trouble when he got off to the side. And also, you've seen him run into some trouble with 2 strikes and not throwing that really good kind of bait pitch. It's been more contact than he's wanted on 0-2 counts.
Stays 0-2. Well, outfield really deep with Canha up here. Rua in left field. DeShields in center, both way back there. Dyson looking for that scoreless 8th inning and his 2-strike pitch.
It's better. You want him throwing something out of the zone there after you see that 0-2 foul ball. I mentioned the struggles. There's a .429 batting average against Sam Dyson on 0-2 counts. It's pretty much backwards of where you would expect him to be, where you're going to see most pitchers be. So the idea at least of wasting one or trying to throw some kind of setup pitch. He throws the breaking ball right there away. Now he's set up if he wants to throw that really good 2-seam fastball down and in.
This one lined out towards center field, drops in for a base hit. Pinder stops at second, but back-to-back singles now with 2 out in this 8th inning.
Sam Dyson decides to go away with the 2-seam fastball here instead of down and in. It's a pretty good pitch, but you give an opportunity for a right-handed hitter to get his arms extended. And that's what Canha did. You know, listen, it's easy to sit there and second-guess pitch selection all day long, especially after you get a negative result. But I love the idea of him throwing that breaking ball away and going one direction on one side of the plate, and then that really good 2-seam fastball that he got the swing and miss on the second pitch. That's a nice follow-up to the breaking ball, but they went away, and there was some good contact, but still no damage done with 2 outs.
Now Lucroy coming out. He's going to communicate to the infield how they want to play here with 2 away, 2 men on. Potential tying run out in scoring position.
Yeah, he's letting the infielders know that if there is a double steal, where he will be throwing that baseball. Whether he's holding it, whatever it may be, the fake, throw straight to second. Just making sure everybody's on the same page. Now this gets a little interesting as well for me because Adam Rosales, I mentioned it earlier, is very good on balls at rim. We'll see how short he was. He's already showed us earlier today how he can get to the barrel to good fastballs that are on the inside part of the plate.
Bouncer up the middle. Andrews has it. The throw to first. In time. Inning over. Dyson works around a couple of 2-out singles. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Rangers lead by 1.
TNT high-speed replay from today. Back in the 7th inning, Carlos Gomez with the base hit to get things started off. And then it was Delino DeShields with 2 outs. His base hit that ultimately drove in Carlos Gomez all the way from second base. And then Elvis Andrews with the big double to drive in Delino DeShields. Swipe left to right, and then Nomar Mazara with the big hit. And that scored Elvis Andrews. And the Rangers do it again. It was 4 runs in the 7th inning last night, 3 in the 7th inning today to take the lead. And that is our AT&T high-speed replay.
All right, so we go to the last of the 8th inning. Bobby Wall on to pitch. He's the 3rd pitcher of the day for Oakland. And he starts Odor off the plate with ball 1. Bruce Maxwell's come in to catch, replacing Vogt. Two and 0.
See the 3 games pitched there for Wall. He is a rookie, so this is his 4th career appearance in his career. 25 years old. Former 5th round pick back in 2013 by the A's.
And he is in a hole here. 3 balls and no strikes to a dangerous hitter. Odor has been held to 0 for 3 today. But the rookie Bobby Wall, he was called up on May 3rd from AAA Nashville, made his debut that night. So very new to the big leagues. And just 11 days in his 3-0 pitch. That's high. And he has walked Odor. Rangers Authentics is your home for the highest quality, most exclusive Rangers memorabilia. Offerings include game-used equipment, jerseys worn by players, and a whole lot more. A portion of all proceeds will be donated to the Texas Rangers Baseball Foundation. Go to texasrangers.com/authentics to learn more. And I don't know if it's through the same channel, but I think some of the Mother's Day stuff auctioned right through that.
I believe so. You get some of those bats at, I believe it's MLB.com/auctions, where you see a lot of the stuff as well. And I think the bats are kind of done separately from everything else, but there is certainly an opportunity to get your hands on some pretty awesome game used stuff from this weekend. Our microphones will be staying here, though.
No,
nobody bidding on those.
Don't think they would get very much. Napoli fooled and in a hole here now, 0-2. It's an 0-for-3 today for Napoli. Rangers, though, 5 runs, 11 hits. Had 10 hits yesterday as well, so hasn't just been home runs lately. A swing and a miss. Odor was running on the pitch, and he is in there with a stolen base. 4th of the year for Rougned Odor.
There was no doubt that Odor beat this throw. It was just a matter of whether or not he held the bag, and we'll see it here. Another tremendous jump. The Rangers just running all over days. He looked in. I think he thought he had it standing up. And look at that again, just keeping the foot on the bag barely, as Jed Lowry was holding the tag as Mike Napoli swung through that fastball that was up. Look at that. That's amazing. Like ballerinas out there.
Well, 1 out. Odor at second base. That's a very big base runner in this game. First pitch a little bit high for a ball to Pete Kozma. Kozma, who came in last inning to play first base, replacing Carlos Gomez in the lineup. Gomez left with a strained right hamstring. We'll have an MRI tomorrow, and we will learn more after that. And also, before the game, Shin-Soo Choo was in the leadoff spot today, but was a scratch from the lineup with a stiff back. So we don't know that one to be anything serious, but those are 2 concerns this afternoon.
It's a couple of really big contributors, part of this Rangers winning streak, but just even how much better they have been playing in the month of May. Those would be big losses without a doubt. So hopefully nothing too serious. An off day tomorrow, right? So that's certainly some good news. Give everybody an extra day, and then no bigger loss so far this year than that man right there, and Adrian Beltre, who, man, he looks like he could go out there right now, doesn't he?
Oh, he's ready.
Okay. That's a lot of pink. That is a lot of pink.
Kozma waiting on a 2-1 from Wall, and gets a breaking ball for strike 2.
And one thing that sticks out from today as well, it's only been 3 strikeouts for Rangers hitters through 7 1/3 innings. That is their season low. They struck out just 3 times the first game of this series against the A's. If this holds, they will tie their season low with just 3 strikeouts in a game on the season.
Ball with a couple of looks out to second. This is very high. Full count now on Kozma. Joey Gallo would be next. 8th inning and a 1-run game. Well, the 25-year-old rookie. And his payoff pitch. This one is lifted down the left field line, but hooking foul. So Kozma will see another. Now, once we get to the 9th inning, Matt Bush has been loosening up in the bullpen. He will see the top of the order for Oakland. Rangers aren't ready to concede this bottom of the 8th yet, though. They have a man at second with only 1 out, and this will be the 7th pitch of the at-bat to Cosman. Doing good battle up there. Check swing bloop over first. That one perfectly placed. Base hit. Around third, heading to the plate, Odor. The throw, cut off. And a big insurance run driven in by Cosma.
Well, this is right out of the Adrian Beltre book of awkward swings that turn into a base hit for Pete Cosma. Not even a smile on his face. You got to smile when you get to first base after you get this kind of hit. He tried to hold up his swing and kind of looking around. Then, oh, there's the ball. He probably thought he fouled that ball. And then looking, and it's down. And we've seen it before from Adrian, where he's taken some awkward swings that have turned into base hits. But you will take them any way that you can get them. There's a little
there you go.
Facial expression from Pete Cosman. Hey, did I do that right? Is that how the swipe works here? Well, you don't want to embarrass yourself. You want to make sure you got your new club, that you're doing it right.
Hector Ortiz had a nice smile on his face as that one was dropping in. So Cosma at first, big RBI, makes it a 2-run Rangers lead, and Daniel Coulombe coming on for the A's. .6-4 Rangers lead. Bottom of the 8th inning and still batting. Cosma at first with a big RBI single just a moment ago. Daniel Coulombe has come on for the A's, 4th pitcher this afternoon. And lefty's first pitch, that one cued foul by Joey Gallo.
Now, if you're Pete Cosma, I mean, you got to get that ball right. It's your first hit as a Ranger, first RBI, 3rd club that he's played for now. Of course, he spent the 5 seasons in St. Louis, a little bit of time with the Yankees this year.
I think you let that one go.
Come on, man. They all count. The story can change over the years. It doesn't have to be that swing. Yeah. 115 miles an hour off. You guys didn't see it? Oh, yeah. 115 off the bat. Right in the trophy case.
Is that a thing, though? Would you get your first hit with each team as you move along?
A terrible idea.
I thought you get your.
I mean, probably not. But you know, if you end up being a guy who plays, if you're Kenny Lofton, right? You play for 75 teams, then yeah, it'd probably be a good idea. Now, you're not thinking about it at the time.
That's the problem, right? You don't know how it's going to play out.
When you're on your second team, you're not thinking about it. I of course joke about Kenny Lofton playing at 75 teams, but he did play on, how was it? 1, 2, 3, 11 teams.
11 teams. Now, you have in your collection how many different team jerseys?
Well, the jerseys, I have to go back and count. Played for 8 teams in the big leagues, 4 more in the minor leagues, 3 in Korea, 1 in Japan.
Swing and a miss by Gallo. Late start from first, and Cosma out by a mile at second base. Miscommunication perhaps on that one. And a strike him out, throw him out, double play ends the inning. Rangers add a very big run, though. And it's a 2-run lead now for Busch coming on in the ninth. Well, a beautiful Mother's Day today out here at Globe Life Park. And so far, plenty to enjoy. Rangers with a 6-4 lead. We go to the 9th inning. And it's going to be in the hands of Matt Bush now to close this one out. Bush got the save yesterday, his 3rd of the year. He closed out Wednesday's victory as well. And this is his 13th relief appearance of the season. First pitch swinging, and Davis sends this one to center field to Shields. A little to his left, one away. MLB.TV Premium is back in better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions do apply. Go to MLB.TV for details. One away here in the 9th inning. Matt Joyce, left-handed hitter, hit the big 2-run homer in the 5th inning. At the time, it gave Oakland the 4-2 lead. They have not scored since. Rangers bullpen has been very sharp, and Bush starts him off with a breaking ball.
That's a good-looking curveball down and in. Some messages, of course, here for moms everywhere. It's been a good Mother's Day so far for the Rangers.
Big swing and a miss. 0-2 to Joyce. I wish my mother happy Mother's Day back in Nebraska. My wife, happy Mother's Day to her as well. Taking care of 3 boys today. Bush. 0-2 pitch, and this one is lined softly into center field. That's a base hit. So Joyce is on. That brings the potential tying run to the plate here in the 9th inning.
Matt Bush decided to go right at Matt Joyce in this 0-2 count. Figured maybe get that fastball by him again, and pretty well located middle in, but 0-2 count. You think Black or off the plate. Gave Matt Joyce an opportunity. Does a nice job lining that ball to center field.
Joyce on now, and Jed Lowry, who is 1 for 4, steps in. Bush comes right after him. 98 miles per hour. It's 0-1 on Lowry. Want to wish a happy birthday too to Robert Hyatt, celebrating number 54 today, and enjoying the Rangers on TV. Great to have you with us, Robert. Breaking ball, bouncer, second base. Quick flip to second one. The Andrews turn. In time, double play, and this one is over. The Rangers make it 6 in a row. And they come back from behind to do it again today. 6-4, the final score. Matt Bush locks down the save. I want you to stay with us. Emily Jones, Mike Bassick, and Pudge. They'll be back to talk about how these cardiac kids have struck once again. What a great Mother's Day it has been for CJ Nitkowski, Emily Jones, and our entire crew. I'm Dave Raymond. Thank you for watching today. Inviting you to stay with us. Rangers Live postgame show starts right after this.